Hello, this is Jan from Red Toad Art Studio, and today we are going to start section 1 of our Daisies series. We're going to learn how to draw daisies, paint daisies. Well, who knows what we're going to learn to do with daisies. So on this video, we are going to learn how to draw the basic daisy. So let's get started. We'll move all of these over. And we are going to start out with a sheet of watercolor paper that is approximately 6 by 9 inches. But I want to teach you how to draw these just on a piece of sketchbook paper or copy paper. While you practice these, you can use any kind of paper you have around. And they're very easy. They're so easy I haven't even made an instruction sheet for them. So, let's begin. We want to do them loose. By loose, we mean we're not really all uptight about everything being perfect, because if you look at a flower in nature, they aren't perfect. There's petals of a little bit different sizes, and there's little spots and marks on them, and the wind has torn little holes in their edges. So we don't need to be perfect either. So I'm going to show you how to draw a daisy from several different angles here. First off, very lightly, because you want to erase this line, draw an oval. Now that's pretty light. I'm going to draw it dark here just so you can see it on camera, but you need to draw that lightly. Now, obviously when we see this, our daisy's head is tipped. It's not straight on. So now let's put a small oval in the center, and that is the yellow center of our daisy. Now, this is where we need to be very loose in our drawing. Just go. Don't worry about it being perfect. They may not even meet here. Now, we do want them to come up and meet the center. Some of these lines can run into another petal. And this is a little jagged end. None of this has to be exact. And you're looking at that and think, if you're like me, and a lot of us artists, we want to control our drawings. We get so into controlling them, we lose a lot of the beauty of our drawings. Now, as I'm getting towards the back, I may make this little squiggle on the end a little less squiggly, a little smoother on the top, because we're just seeing it from the front looking back, and this may have a little tip over where we don't see that double bubble so much. But that one we did, and that's no problem. We'll even stick another one in here. Now, see what that looks like? Now, I think we should move on to our inking stage already for this part of our daisy. When we come to the center, let's not make it smooth, just a little bit bumpy, because inside of a daisy isn't necessarily smooth. And then we're going to go over our lines, and you know, if you don't follow them exactly, it won't hurt at all. In fact, you will probably get to where you draw the whole daisy in ink, and you don't even worry about using a pencil first. But I'd suggest you go ahead and start out with a pencil, just till you get the idea. See how easy this is? You're going out approximately to the edges of your circle, or the oval that you drew at the beginning. Get down here towards the center. There we go. Now we'll want to erase this circle. Now you'll want to do a good job with that, but I'm not going to worry too much about this. It is just an example. Now, I want to come in and do this little middle line in the petals. Don't make them straight lines like this. Make them kind of curvy lines that go with the direction the petal seems to be going. See how this is kind of going that way? we'll make our line curve that way to go along with the petal. See how that works? Then I also like to put little dots in the middle of this because there's all kinds of little seeds, I believe, in the middle of our daisy's head. Now, I would come along to finish the stem. I'd pick my pencil up again until I'm very used to what I'm doing. Find a spot where it seems like that daisy is leaning off of its stem. So I think this wouldn't seem natural. This seems natural. Let the daisy speak for itself. And draw its stem down. Now, I looked and looked and looked at daisy pictures to see what shape their leaves are. And their leaves, well, if you look at the pictures, the leaves are never just, you can't draw a leaf like this, like we do with a lot of the flowers. And we have this structured little leaf. We could do that and put that on each side, but it wouldn't look natural. Their leaves are all just kind of crumpled and jumbled and turned and twisted. So just come here and do something like this. And that is much more lifelike in real life than doing this. And that is true with most plants. The leaves are never laid out just perfectly facing us all of the time. See, now we have 2 leaves. Let's come in and ink that. Then erase your pencil lines, and you have your first daisy. Why don't you try that real quickly, and then we'll do some other angles of our daisy. See, isn't that a cute daisy? Let's add another daisy that's coming up here by it. Let's see, I think this daisy will want to kind of face in this direction. So we're going to do an oval, and you do this lightly. I'll do it a little heavier. Now this daisy is going to look that direction. We'll put our oval here, and then we're just going to draw our petals the same way as we did before. Kind of think of those petals coming over a solid disc. Think of a saucer or something that's solid, and these petals are coming out and kind of laying over the edge of it. And as it gets towards the back, you won't see quite as much as that little squiggle in the end of the petal. See we have that? Now I'm going to go ahead and do my stem while I have my pencil. And a leaf. Now if we were doing a whole picture here, we wouldn't ink these until we had drawn all these little parts in, because maybe that would have gone over that one. Now, let's ink it real quick. Don't forget to do a little lumpy ridge around that center. Add some of your dots. You could always add those with your pencil if you want, but there's really no need to do them twice, unless you're doing this as a pencil drawing, and then you'll want to put everything in with pencil. But these are so easy, and they're fun because they are easy, and they still look beautiful like real daisies. It is spring here, and the flowers are just beautiful. It makes you want to draw flowers. Now, when you find this and you're drawing it, it could possibly be in the middle of winter. But you know what? That'll just cheer us up and make us realize spring will be here eventually, if it's not here now. Let's put our little center lines in. Ink our stem, and don't make super straight lines. Now I'm coming in with this. And stems get a little wider at the bottom, not a lot, but they don't get wider at the top when it comes to daisies. Now I'll bring that leaf out, hook it to that. We need to erase it. Now let's draw one more that is absolutely turning to face us and looking us straight in the face. Which is no harder than these are. Let's put that one down here. So if we do that, we want to draw a circle instead of an oval. Not a perfect circle, a circle. See how that's kind of a circle? We're not worrying about doing a perfect one. Then we're going to put the center in the center. Kind of. It's not perfect. It doesn't need to be. And now we will put the little petals all the way around, and they're kind of evenly distributed if it's looking straight at us. And you might, if you have several daisies in a picture, you'll want them coming from different angles. So this is a different angle. And then these back ones can still keep their little petal notches. Now I'm hurrying because we're on film, but you know what? It doesn't seem to matter how bad we do these. They come out cute. We'll do a quick inking. This is where I kind of work on the details when I ink. I use the pencil more or less as just an outline or suggestion of where to go with my ink. I don't try to follow these exactly. And that's probably a good thing, because my pencil ones are kind of not the best. It's okay. I haven't seen a daisy come out bad yet, even drawn by children. They seem to be able to do this and make beautiful daisies. By loose, this is what I mean. I'm not real worried about exactly where my lines are going. I'm not measuring. I'm not drawing with a ruler. Whatever comes out works. It's kind of like the daisy I'm drawing has a life of its own. Have you ever heard that people who write stories, that the story takes over and it starts to tell the author what to write? It takes on a life of its own. And many times that's what our art does if we give up a little bit of control and don't worry too much about it being perfect. Now we'll add in the daisy lines. Petal lines, I should say. And we'll erase. Get rid of all my messy pencil lines here. And yes, you definitely could just start from pen and have a beautiful daisy, but I do suggest you try it with the pencil first until you get used to it. And if you're doing a big picture, you kind of lay out where your daisies are supposed to be before you start to ink it. And there we did. Look at our daisy. We have 3 daisies here. So now we're going to move on over to a piece of watercolor paper and make a picture to get ready to paint it. So lay that aside. This is watercolor paper. It's not the most expensive piece out there, but this will work just fine. This is 6 by 9 approximately. So we're going to fit a couple daisies in there, something like we did on this one. We're not going to worry about backgrounds yet. We're just going to learn to draw, and next video we'll paint our daisy, and then in our series we will work out how to put backgrounds and things in. But we're just taking this one step at a time. So we're going to put 2 daisies in. So I'm going to put an oval right here for 1 daisy. Can you see that? I hope, because I do want to be able to erase this. I think you can see that. And then we'll put another oval down here for another daisy. Now what you do need to do is decide which one is in front and which one is behind. And I think this one will be my front daisy. Let's put in our centers, just like that. Now if these were closer, they might be overlapping, and that's why we need to decide. If this was closer to this one, some of these petals would go over these petals. Now my daisies decided, I guess they didn't want to touch. That's just how it came out. So now we're going to come here and put petals in. Now that this is a picture I want to keep, I'm still going to draw loose, but I will be a little more careful and not be quite as sloppy as I was on the demonstration. I hope these are showing, because I'm not doing these real dark. They will show up a little better when we ink it. There we go. I like that daisy. Now we're going to come in and add some petals to this one. Now since this was in front, if this was closer, I'd be drawing over those petals, which is fine. Then we would erase the parts that are covered by the front leaves. And we'll probably do some like that in our series. We'll try to do several different things. And that way you can just have beautiful daisy pictures. And we're going to stick another one in there. Now, I think before we ink it, we obviously need to find our stem lines. This one's in front, so we're going to start with it. We're going to come down like this. You know, and that's too fat of a stem. Let's erase that. In fact, I think we're going to go back right here and do the other side of the stem. There we go. And this one, I'm going to come out here and do a curve like that. Don't just do straight lines. Don't do something where you do the daisy and then you just come straight out like a stick. That is not nature, and that's not daisies. They're curvy and beautiful. There we go, just like that. Let's add some leaves. I'm going to add these first, since this is one in front. It's all right if they overlap, but I don't think mine will. There's some leaves. Let's put a leaf right up here. If you get very big, it'll go behind, which is fine. And this one's going off the edge. I think even I will put another leaf here. Only part of it will show in our picture. But you know, I kind of like going off the edges. It makes them look like they're just not contained in this tiny little spot. All right. And then at the bottom, I like for it to disappear into the grass. But we will do more of that with paintwork. So now we need to ink this picture. Now remember, we're going to do those little bumpy things around the centers. We'll just do them both while we're thinking of it. You can do them in any order that you wish. Let's put our little seeds in there. Okay, now we're going to draw our petals out. There is our first daisy flower drawn. Let's add the little lines in the petals. And let's go to our second flower head here and ink those petals. If you notice, it's quite acceptable to twist your paper so that you can do smooth lines. Sometimes doing certain directions makes it harder for your hand and your wrist to move smoothly. Whatever is best for you. Perhaps you don't like to ever move your piece of paper. And if that's how you're comfortable, that's perfectly fine. We all develop our own methods to doing our art. You know, we could add another petal in here. There we go. Now let's put the petal lines in. Now we need to work on our stems and our leaves, which is fairly easy to do in the inking part anyway. A big long stem here. Eventually in this series we want to do a picture with daisies and some things like maybe ferns or something else in with them like they normally would be in with other flowers or other weeds or whatever. Now let's get our... Now I'm going to stop before I come to the edge because I'll be taping that down and painting, and we should have a white edge left. I'll do the same thing with this one. I'll stop about there. Now, if you want, you can add some kind of curvy lines in your leaves. That is up to you. There we go. Hey, let's clean it up now. It's almost ready to be finished as a painting. So now we're going to erase all of our stray lines. Wasn't that quick? It takes no time at all to do these beautiful drawings, and it doesn't really take too long to paint them either. Unless you're going to do a method that I will show you later on, which is wet on wet. Doesn't take long to do, but there is quite a bit of drying time in those, so you do have to have at least probably a couple good days to finish a daisy picture if you're doing wet on wet. But our first one's just going to be the way we usually have been painting, which is going to be wet on dry. There we go. You know, if you have a little handy dandy brush, works great. Check it out for places you've missed, and I did miss some. I always do. There was some. Get it all cleaned up, and now it is ready to paint, and we will do that in part 2, our next video. So have fun drawing these daisies. Try them in all different directions and sizes and multiples together, and just have fun. Hey, and you don't have to wait to see how to paint it. Play with the paint, color crayons, chalks, colored pencils. All of those work beautifully on these daisies, and we'll be back with you with how to watercolor it next. So have fun with these beautiful flowers, and bye-bye for now.